Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I want to show you a small trick for using different reverbs in different sections of your song, and also using delay throws, maybe an easier way. So let's get started here. The first thing is I just have a drum beat here. So as you see, there's two different sections. There's this one from bar 1 through 4. It's kind of like a verse section. It's not too much energy. And then at measure 5, it kind of picks up in energy. So let's put some reverb on this because it's a little bit dry. So we have an FX bus here, and I'm just going to add a reverb. And what I'm going to add is actually MTurboReverb This is the multiband version. And that's going to be really important in a second. So we just add this here. Let's route this to there so we can actually hear something. Now we're going to just choose whatever reverb sound we like. I'm going to use this display lock so I can lock this at 100%. And then I can try some different examples, like maybe the plasma chamber. See how this sounds? I actually like that, but it has a little bit too much low end. So let's try locking the low cut and setting this around like 120 or so. So I like the sunrise chamber, but it's a little bit too long, so let me shorten it. So this is 100 beats per minute. I can just choose one of these. 300 is a little bit too short. 600 is good. 120. Let's try something a little bit shorter, like 600. Let's hear how this sounds. I like that. And I can adjust this here if I think it's too loud or not loud enough, but I think that's about right. So let's hear it dry and wet. So dry. That's all right. Let me move it down a little bit less. Okay. So that's good, but what about for this section here? I guess the chorus in this case. I probably want something, a little bit more reverby. So what I can do here is just open this and see it says band 1 here. Just open the crossover, right click it, and don't click 2 because that's going to erase everything in band 1. I want to insert a band. And now it's splitting everything by frequency, which is what I don't want. I'm going to right click it again and go to the level crossover here. Now let's move this level here. And as you see up here, it moves, and that tells you where the level is. So currently, let's move it to band 2. So now I have band 2 here, and I'm just going to loop this so we can listen to this section and find the correct reverb. So I'll move to large spaces, display locks again, set this at. I probably want the same thing here, a cut around like 100 or so. And let's try a few different sizes. It's a little bit too long, but I like the character overall. Let's change this to 240 is probably too long. Let's try this. See how this sounds. And let's change the pre-delay also. Let's say that's about 18 milliseconds. Now, I like that. And if we right click this again, we can kind of compare them if we want. So we'll play this. And so this is pretty good. I'm going to change a few other things. I'm going to make this first one not quite as wide. So maybe change the widening down to -60%. So it's not quite mono, but almost. And one last thing I want to do is just check it to make sure that it is at least relatively balanced in volume. So play it one more time and I'll adjust the gain. Now do the same thing with the other one. Okay, so now everything is pretty much how I want it, but there's a few other things that I probably need to do here. So one of the things is make this smaller, first of all. It's gotten too big. I'm opening up too many controls here. So I want to open up the multi-parameters. I'm going to set up this first one here. I'll just label this as level, and I'll have it control the level here. So level value here. Okay. Set this to 0 and set current value as default. So now this will control everything here. I don't have to right click and go into the menu again. So that makes things much easier. Now what I want to do is actually automate this, which is fairly easy. All I need to do is right click here, set it to right, and we're going to play the whole thing over again. And when I get to around here, I'm going to start automating this so it changes from band 1 to band 2. So here we go. So there we go, we wrote the automation. I have this point here, I can just delete this if I want to. So there we go. And now I just change this from write to read. And let's listen to it one more time. So you get the idea, and in this case I used 2 different reverbs, but you could actually use up to 6 if you wanted to. I usually wouldn't have that many different sections in songs, but this will save you lots of time automating things, because normally I would do this by having multiple FX buses. I would have, reverb verse, reverb chorus, and use lots of different reverbs, and it's kind of a pain to automate them all up and down. But this way you can just use one reverb to do everything. But I'll show you something else you can do with delays now. Okay, in this second example I have just a guitar solo and a backing track. So I'll let you hear it just dry once. So you heard it there, but I actually have MDelay on here. Here are the settings here. It's just an 1/8 note delay, and I have a little bit of stereo width by changing the left and right offset. I'm also using a filter here to cut off some of the extreme highs and the extreme lows, and a bit of feedback. So you can hear this now. As you heard there, it starts kind of slowly and then it kind of picks up in intensity. And before with the reverb, what I did was I changed it between sections. And this time I don't want to do that. I actually want to create delay throws. So what I'm going to do here is something similar. Just right click here, click level, insert. And now I have the two bands just like before. And I'm going to change the level all the way up just so we can hear this band 2 when we start. And keep in mind here, I have the dry signal at 0 because this is on a send. And I have it sent from track 3 to this FX bus. So I'm going to do something similar here, just reduce some of the high and low frequencies by using the filter. Then I'm going to change this to a quarter note delay. This one I actually want in mono, so I'll leave it how it is. And let's turn the feedback way up, even higher than the other one, and turn the volume up too. Now let's hear how this sounds. Now this is a bit loud. I can turn this down a little bit, but this basically is what I want. But I don't want it on all the time. So I want to turn it on and off at different moments. And to do that, we do just what we did before. Let's set up a multi-parameter. So set up the multi-parameter 1, name it as throw. Add a control here, or a parameter I should say. So let's take the level crossover value. Okay. This is just like I did with the reverb, and you can see here, this controls it. And I could do it exactly like I did before, but I think there's a better way. Let's try the switch. Now, move this down to 0. Now you see we actually have a switch. And if I turn it on, it goes all the way up. If I turn it off, it goes all the way down. Now, what I'm going to do is, while this is playing, I'm going to push this switch just so I can engage this second band delay at certain key points. So that was all right. I wasn't really on time. I wish I would have done it a little bit differently. But what we can do is actually automate this. So let's change this to right. And now I can do this, and whatever I click will be recorded, and then I can adjust the automation afterwards. And then all I have to do is just change this back to read and listen to it. So that's not exactly what I want, but it's easy enough to just go in there and, edit this by moving these over so they line up time-wise to what I want. And you might want to change this also if you think, it's a little bit too much, or it's too little, or I want a little bit less high frequencies. It's easy enough to do that afterwards. But for me, this is much easier than setting up a second bus and then messing with faders and things like this. It's easy and simple. So hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, leave those down below. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done that. And check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Until next time, see you.